What's good, you guys? It's Will here from SHADOW ASCENT, signing back in once again. Today I'm actually stuck in traffic. I got a long commute. I guess there was a big crash on the road I'm heading down, so just kind of stuck in thought. I didn't really feel like listening to music, so I'm just thinking about how wild this world is that we live in, and a lot of it is virtual. A lot of it is digitized nowadays. You see social media, there's so much going on. And I kind of find it interesting how we live in a world where, through that lens, it seems as if a lot of men hate women and a lot of women hate men. And I think there are, from both sides, reasons to not fully understand the other or almost resent the other even. Like, as a man, I'm obviously biased toward a male perspective, but when I hear my fiance or when I hear about other women's experiences with men, I could understand how they would almost have that feeling of resentment towards masculinity or towards men and find it toxic. And then being a man and having gone through a lot of periods of rejection and loneliness and isolation, I see it from that lens as well, of having a little bit of misunderstanding or resentment towards women. However, I think that's at a very surface level. And I feel as if a lot of our, I keep saying this word, but resentment comes from an internalized misogyny or misandry. Excuse me, my car just beeped. Got a little too close to one in front of me. No biggie though. But yeah, I think a lot of times we have a certain idea of who we're supposed to be, how we're supposed to act and behave as a particular gender. And so if we're not in line with that, or if we have an aspect of ourselves that has not properly been implemented or integrated into our lives that might not quite fit in with our, assigned gender, we'll say, then we feel insecure. We don't know how to handle that side of ourselves. We feel shameful about it. So what is a common trait that you would say goes with masculinity? I'd say being able to provide, being able to lead, being able to assert yourself, initiate, be able to kind of have a sense of stoic nature, not running from emotions or hiding them, but being able to kind of be in control. These are things that you hear are commonly associated with a more masculine side. And when we take a look at the feminine, it's a more nurturing nature, being able to take care, being able to provide, being emotionally in tune with oneself. The thing is, I didn't say what you think of as a man or what you think of as a woman. These are just masculine and feminine traits. However, as a man myself, as much as I strive to be able to provide for a family, to be able to initiate, assert myself as an individual, and be in control, there's just as much of a necessity as being in touch with my emotions, being in touch with myself, and being able to nurture, being able to take care for others. So what I'm ultimately saying is I have a feminine side. And that side is something a lot of us men grow up seeing as weak, as a part of ourselves that's vulnerable and needs to be kind of tucked under the rug, especially in older generations. If you guys have people who are a lot older, I don't want to throw anyone under the rug, but those older generations are very much of that sort of branch of more masculine and I don't want to say toxic, but just rough and tough mentality. And if you have a parent, if you have a relative or someone a lot of times you can see that in them. Like older men are very out of touch with themselves or their emotions or what goes on inside. And I've even seen people be like, oh man, women do this, women do that. Or kind of have that feeling about them or be a little bit weirded out by what women do. Like going and shopping or getting, trying on makeup, things like that. And I will say that this is my perspective as a man from what I've heard, but like because of that, it has made me and countless other men shy away from the idea of simply crying or venting to a partner or to somebody else, as if those emotions need to be repressed. And I think this is what happens when we have a large community of men who, well, you could call them red pill, or what people refer to as incels. So, oh my God, there's a big ass bird that just flew by the car in front of me. Wow, that was interesting. But they are incels. They hate women. They victimize themselves. But I don't think they necessarily hate women. I don't know if it's as simple as that. A lot of times that's projection. Maybe they resent a side of themselves. Perhaps they just don't like themselves. They don't take care of themselves. At the same time, there are a lot of women who might be more aligned or in alignment with feminism. I think feminism has been necessary for long periods of time. I think it's very important. However, I also think there's a toxic side of feminism when it comes to a point where women are hating on men and just simply hating men. Again, I don't have too much to say about that because, like, I'm not a woman, but I do think, there's a certain way that you're raised and how to act and how to behave as a woman. You don't want to be seen as manly. People will look at you a certain type of way for that. I think gender norms are normative for a reason, but at the same time, we should be able and willing to push those boundaries of societal norms, at least as far as being able to express oneself as a man, I think, in your emotions. I remember recently, I don't know if any of you guys tune into the NBA, but there's been this whole thing with Victor Wembanyama, one of the top young players in the league. He cried after winning like a big game. It was a regular season game, I think, initially. So it wasn't like a huge playoff game, a lot on the line, but it was a close game, and they ended up winning. And he cried and received a lot of criticism for it. Oh, he's gay, he's weak, he's this, he's that. And then I think he cried after an actual win in the playoffs. And he said something along the lines of, like, I refuse to carry the burden of not expressing my emotions, something along those lines. And I feel like that's something we need. We need that. Expressing your emotions may be seen as a feminine thing, but it doesn't have to be seen as a womanly thing. And that's where I feel like there's a line. It's right, like, I'm masculine, I'm also feminine. So is everybody. We may have more to us, it seems like, than the other, but yeah, I don't know. It's just an interesting world we live in, and I've been seeing that a lot of times. Like, I try to stay off of social media when I can, but when I'm on there, it seems like there's always someone talking to the other, someone talking down about the other, and I think we need to be more accepting and appreciative of one another, ultimately. So I'm about to get on the highway. I think the traffic is probably not going to be too bad, so I should probably get off my phone. But I appreciate you guys tuning in, and let me know what you think of. This is definitely an interesting topic to me. So hope you all have a good one.